Political battle lines drawn. How will benefit from the latest health promises? A P-plate driver fights for life after a fiery Blue Mountains crash. Strawberry sabotage spreads to New Zealand. And will he or won't he? Cooper Cronk's desperate battle to be fit for the NRL Grand Final.
This is NBN News with Jane Goldsmith.
Good evening. In the lead up to the looming election, the battle lines are emerging, with the government and Labor set to go head-to-head on health. Both are now promising Australians better access to MRI scans.
That is a big news.
In the strategic battleground of Sydney's west, Scott Morrison announcing funding for life-saving scans.
That's CT, that's MRI.
It was a bid to win back the West. Prime Minister and Health Minister in the beating heart of Labor-held territory, strolling the corridors of Mount Druitt Hospital.
Nice to meet you.
To announce an extra 30 bulk-built MRI machines now headed across the country, including one each for Mount Druitt and Northern Beaches Hospital.
That's going to support 400,000 people.
And if it all sounded familiar, that's because it was. Just 24 hours ago, Labor pledged a similar plan.
A further 6 MRI licences.
The government today seeking to neutralise the threat.
I don't set my agenda based on what the Labor Party's doing. I set it based on what the needs of the community is doing.
This is more about the Coalition's political health rather than the good health of the people of Mount Druitt.
The opposition also scanning the Coalition's commitment to women. Tanya Plibersek today flanked by females as she played the political card, attacking the government's stance on the gender pay gap.
We think it's just not fair that a full-time working woman earns about $27,000 a year less than a full-time working man.
Under a Labor government, companies with more than 1,000 employees would be encouraged to reveal the wages of women versus men. This is Labor's second policy within recent days to help working women. The opposition determined to spotlight the Coalition's gender wars with claims of bullying, intimidation, and too few females within the ranks.
Under Labor, the gender pay gap got bigger, and under us, under our government, it's got smaller.
But even the Prime Minister admits he still has work to do. Early Walsh, NBN News.
A Newcastle motorcyclist was killed when his bike collided with a car in Spencer on the Hawkesbury River. The 53-year-old from Wallsend died at the scene on Wiseman's Ferry Road around 11:30 this morning. Police setting up diversions as they looked into the cause of the crash. The 44-year-old driver of the car was treated for minor injuries and taken to hospital for mandatory testing. A P-plater is tonight fighting for life after he was cut free from the wreckage of his car following a fiery smash with a truck at Katoomba in the Blue Mountains. Emergency crews arrived to confronting and chaotic scenes before frantically trying to free the 35-year-old.
Dark stretch of the Great Western Highway, a fireball engulfs a semi-trailer. Metres away is a crumpled Toyota Camry. The 35-year-old P-plate driver from Orange trapped in the wreckage, with paramedics at his side.
He was very combative, very confused. He had a head injury, he had a punch wound to his right shoulder.
Also with serious leg and spinal injuries, it took more than an hour for him to be freed.
He was fighting the paramedics saying, "Just get me out of here, just get me out of here."
Emergency services had to hike through bushland to make their way around the other side of the truck, still not knowing where that driver was.
At first we were very concerned about where he was, and it took a little while for us to establish that he actually got out of the truck. He's in shock.
Something inside the truck had sparked an explosion on impact. Miraculously, the driver made it out.
The truck was carrying small goods, but it was still quite an intense fire because of the refrigeration unit in the truck itself.
The stretch of highway was closed for hours. Drivers diverted away from the chaos. The driver of the car was flown to Westmead Hospital, where he's in a critical condition. The 34-year-old truck driver from Dubbo was taken for mandatory testing. Police say the driver of the car had been heading west and appears to have veered onto the wrong side of the road. But exactly what led to that will form a major part of this investigation.
Investigations are currently underway to establish the cause of the collision.
Zara James, NBN News.
More than 50 firefighters are battling a fast-moving grass fire near Maitland. It broke out in an inaccessible area of swamp off Medford Road at Tanambit this afternoon. Rural Fire Service crews, along with several from New South Wales Fire and Rescue, were called out to battle the blaze. Smoke from the fire caused the closure of some surrounding streets, but no properties were under threat. A predator who lured an Australian teenager to America for sex has been jailed for more than 30 years. Sean Price groomed the 16-year-old on social media, prompting authorities to again issue a stern warning about online dangers.
The face of a predator. Any parent's worst nightmare.
This is real. It's not just in the US, it's real here. And we need parents to talk to their kids, make sure their kids are aware of the dangers.
40-year-old Sean Price from New York, guilty of grooming the then 16-year-old girl after meeting her on social media site Snapchat. The court heard Price began talking to the teenager in 2016 before sending her $1,200 to fly from Sydney to Los Angeles in April of 2017. He met her there and drove her across the country to his home in New York, the pair engaging in sexual activity. Australian and US authorities working together to track Price and his victim down.
Grooming is a very powerful thing. We are talking about children here. It doesn't matter whether they're 14, 15, 16, they are vulnerable.
The young female returned home to the safety of her family. But in handing down such a big sentence, the judge said he hoped it would send a message and help prevent anything like this happening again. Experts, though, say parents need to be proactive online and learn the types of social media their children are using.
We really do need to take from this that we need to be involved in our kids' lives, that setting rules is not really enough anymore. We really need to be integrating ourselves into their social media platforms and their games and understanding the world that they're playing in.
Julie Snook, NBN News.
The strawberry sabotage scandal has jumped the Tasman with needles found inside a punnet in Auckland. The contaminated fruit was grown in Western Australia, with New Zealand supermarket chain Countdown taking the brand off the shelves. Back home, Aussies are trying their best to help hurting farmers. Hundreds buying berries by the box in Queensland, some even heading out to the field to pick the fruit themselves. Australian filmmaker James Ricketson is on his way home to Sydney tonight after being granted a royal pardon. The 69-year-old was deported from Cambodia after being released from prison 3 weeks into a 6-year sentence for spying. His family has thanked his friends, supporters and Cambodia's king for helping to secure his release. Newcastle will soon have a new permanent monument to honour all ex-servicemen and women. From tomorrow, work will begin on the city's first eternal flame.
It's long been called for and will soon light the heart of a city.
A flame that will burn forever here in our city park.
The eternal flame, a symbol of gratitude and remembrance of the fallen. And Newcastle's first will soon be built here, in front of the World War II monument.
This will be a place where people can come to reflect on both the service and sacrifice of those men and women, but also a point of reflection and a reminder of the very real human costs of war.
Announced today, it's taken $100,000 from council and $45,000 from the state government to make it happen. But the importance and significance of the eternal flame is worth so much more.
It means a lot. It gives something to us who can drive past this place, see it on the side of the road, and know exactly what it is, what it was for.
The monument will feature the same black granite as the current memorial, coupled with LED lights. The flame created by water vapour. Work to build the eternal flame will begin tomorrow and is expected to take around 4 weeks. While it will be finished by the end of October, it won't be until Armistice Day on the 11th of the 11th that the flame will be lit. A symbol of solidarity and remembrance that will never dim. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
The work of local creatives from Newcastle's TAFE Art School went on display this weekend for the inaugural $1,000 Face of Newcastle Art Prize. Paintings, photographs and sculptures depicting artists' interpretations of the face of the city. And who better to give a motivational speech than tennis champion Dylan Alcott, fresh from his 6th US Open win. Though he was quick to point out he's an art enthusiast, not an artist.
I could not draw a stick man to save my life. It's one of the things I'm worst at, but I do love it. I love checking it out, and hopefully they, raise a bit of money today because it's for a great cause.
All items were auctioned off with the proceeds going to Lifeline. No shortage of colour and excitement at Hamilton today, with thousands treated to an impressive display of Chinese culture at the annual China Week Festival. Now in its 5th year, the event is also seen as a way to strengthen ties and promote business and trade.